This is quite a vision. It is a vision that, as theologian Walter Brueggemann reminds us, requires us to have an imagination. Us so used to the day-to-day of life that we forget that there are other ways. And if we are to pay attention, if we are to be the prophets of our day, and prophets are folks who see the world and recognize that it's not just what God intended the world to be. In other words, the prophet sees the brokenness and the strife and the need for healing and justice and peace and begins to recognize that reality and say, in light of this reality, where are we to go next? And so theologian Walter Brueggemann reminds us that the prophet then provides healing words, provides an imagination towards hope. And so we are here today with a grand vision of a future with no tears and no pain, a future with no conflict and no violence and no strife. Did you hear that prophetic voice, that there will be no tears in our eyes? It seems impossible, doesn't it? And yet we are the people who are the bearers of hope. You and I, us together as God's people, we as the church, deeply rooted in a different imagination, a God imagination, and an imagination that sees this possibility and this reality and claims it for the world. What are we to do then? If we are these kind of people, if we are the people as the church who carry this imagination, what will it require? Well, the writer of the book of Revelation reminds us. It's tucked into this text today. And if you notice at the beginning, the vision begins with a vision of the entire world. A people from every culture, language, and place. A people beyond the confines of the first community that was listening to this narrative. Can you imagine this vision for us? A vision of a diverse community all around us, all around the world, with every possible distinction and difference coming together, having one thing in common: the commonality of being human, and the struggles and strifes of being human, and the stuff of life of being human, and the brokenness and the fears and the violence and the strife and the injustices of being human, and yet the commonality of a proclamation of a God that transcends the cultural, linguistic, and difference boundaries that we as humans are so quick to put together. The tribal type of thinking that aligns so many of us and that places us against the others so often. In this final vision of the end of time, all of those walls that we have put around us are broken down, and we begin to imagine a God who cares for the entire cosmos, the entire created order. So if we are to be the church in this day, if we are to be rehearsing what it looks like to be God's people in light of God's call, if we are to be a people of love and reconciliation and forgiveness and justice in the world, then we are called to recognize this beautiful image and to rehearse it to the best of our abilities. See, in our diversity, in our difference, we are truly a stronger community. We woven together in a stronger bond. And though we in the world tend to be so afraid of difference, the good news of Jesus Christ is calling us today to embrace difference and model difference. So, it requires some imagination. It requires us to pay attention all around us and embrace the messiness of diversity, the messiness of difference. And the promise of the good news of Jesus Christ is that in the midst of that reality, in the midst of the messiness of diversity, God is found. And God comes right there in the midst of that struggle and trial and tribulation and difference and anger and fear and strife. God comes right there in the middle of that and says, new things are being born here. New community is being born here. A light shining here, bringing us together in kinship, solidarity, and in hope. So people of God, pay attention. Where are the places that you're needing to go explore around you? Where difference is found? Where are the places that you need to inhabit differently so that you can encounter diversity and see God in it? Where are the conversations? Where are the stories you need to hear? What are the ways in which all of us need to be transformed so that we can be open to the Spirit of God who is calling us to this reality, to rehearse it over and over and over again in the best way possible? We're going to fail at it. We're not going to do it right. We're going to say the wrong things. We're going to think the wrong things. We're going to behave in the wrong ways. And yet, in our struggle towards it, God is found, calling us to a new day and giving us little glimpses of a new community, of a God community, of a kingdom community, a community like the one at the end of time. We, together, in our diversity, in our transformation, in our difference, experiencing God right then and there. Hope, love, new life, emerging in ways unexpected. Can you see it? Can you imagine it? See it and practice it. God's Spirit, right here, right now, giving us a glimpse that hopefully will fill us with hope. Amen.